Hey everybody, it's Jeff in the garden at the homestead, and we are talking sweet potatoes today. It is November, which is sweet potato harvesting season. Depending on what time of year you are watching this, we do have a video of working with sweet potato slips, or when to plant them, and that is in the spring. If you're watching this now, you probably have already planted sweet potatoes, and you're wondering about harvesting and curing. You're on the right video. If it's spring, go watch the other one. But if you want to learn how to harvest, stick right with me. But before we tell you everything that you need to know, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Oh my gosh, I almost cut myself. Maybe that's my sign not to ask for subscribers. No, I'm gonna do it anyway, despite almost getting cut. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified anytime we put out videos. Bridgette's goal is to make 1 million urban farmers, and that's why this channel exists, to give you all the information to make gardening fun and productive, and hopefully you'll learn something. So let's get into sweet potatoes.
Rolling.
Sweet potatoes, they look like this. If you didn't know, this is what a sweet potato vine looks like. Unlike a lot of vines, you don't need to trellis them. They don't need to grow up. They are perfectly fine sprawling on the ground. If you see the anatomy of the plant, the main stem is going to sit on the ground. These leaves are going to reach up for the sky, so they're perfectly fine on the ground. You'll notice if you have planted sweet potatoes, they really are great about searching for their own sun, so they don't clump together. If you plant them in a cloudy place or a shaded place, well, you can't plant something in a cloudy place. Everywhere is cloudy if it's cloudy. If you plant them in a shaded place, you'll notice these stems get longer and longer and longer. You plant it here, and then 10 feet over, you'll notice that there's some weird plant growing out of your tomato, and you're like, hey, that's the sweet potato. It's just looking for sun. Now, why is it looking for so much sun? Because it is tropical. It loves heat, and it loves moisture. So, when planting, make sure you give it both. Plant it in the summer and make sure it's got well draining but heavily irrigated soil. But you're not here to learn how to grow sweet potatoes, you're here to learn how to harvest them. So let's talk harvesting. Sweet potatoes are anywhere from 90 to 100 days to maturity. What does that mean? Diddly squat. What you really want to watch for is yellowing leaves. So if you look at this plant, it looks very sickly. It looks like it's, almost done growing. Look in here, you see holes in there from pests. These are completely fine. It puts out so much plant matter that a couple bugs or caterpillars are not going to kill it. But what you do notice is yellowing leaves. So this is your number one sign that the potatoes underground are done growing and the plant is pretty much done. It's at the end of its life cycle. So here is a pro tip. If you start to see yellowing leaves, harvest right away, because what can happen is these leaves, especially if you're in a wetter climate than we are here in San Diego, can get disease, and the disease can actually be passed from the leaves to the potatoes. So make sure you get them out of the ground right on time. That is what I call American Gothic if you got a divorce and got to spend all of his time out in the garden. Got my pitchfork because this is a really important tool. You've also seen a potato fork floating around there. If you don't have either of those, a shovel is going to work fine, but you're definitely going to need this, and I'll show you why in just a second. The other tool that I would highly recommend is just some snippers, simple snippers that aren't rusted like mine and stick together. I'm sure all your guys do that too. I'm not very good at cleaning these, but you do need snippers. The reason is something I'm going to show you right now. So let me get this out of the way. Anytime I plant sweet potatoes, it seems like it just puts out so much foliage that it's kind of tough to harvest because you don't know where you actually need to dig. So step number one for harvesting is find the base of this. Oh boy! Oh Nelly!
Merry Christmas.
Well, so that didn't take very long. So what you're trying to do here is find the base of the plant. So you may have planted multiple slips, 1 to 2 feet apart. In this case, I'm pretty sure this was just a volunteer. Here is where the snippers come in. I'm just going to get all of this foliage out of the way so I can have a nice open space to dig up the soil, loosen it up, and get all of these yummy sweet potatoes out of the ground. So give me a second, let me finish doing this, and then we'll move right along. Okay, so greenery's out. Next step is move everything that's gonna get in your way from getting these potatoes out of the ground. So if you want to, you can move some of this old mulch back, whatever it takes to just get a nice open area so that you can have a peek, and make sure you're putting in your shovel or your potato fork or your pitchfork far enough away from the actual plant that you don't scrape or pierce the potatoes. This is really the only thing you're not going to want to do when harvesting potatoes, because that skin is very, very soft at this point. We haven't yet cured them. So if it gets scraped or if it gets punctured, all you're doing is opening up a space for bacteria and rot to get in there. And if you want to keep these potatoes for months to come, there can be no scrapes. So this is the surgical part of this operation that you're not going to want to skimp on. So one thing to make sure of, I am not going to put my fork right there. I'm not even going to put it back here. I'm going to put it literally as far away from the plant as I can and move my way forward. All I'm doing is making it easy. So I'm going to go a little forward. It looks like most of the potatoes are on that side. So I'm just going to get underneath where these sweet potatoes are and just pop up the soil. Oh my gosh, mortal sin I just committed. So here's a perfect example. I'm actually glad that I made this mistake just so I can show you. Above ground, right here, I saw potato, potato. I even said it in the video. I think most of the potatoes are here, but what happened? I just stabbed a whole mess of potatoes. So here's the good news. These potatoes are not lost. You're not going to have to throw them out. What you can't do is store them for months. So I'm still going to cure them, but I'm going to recommend that you eat these right away. So if you do scrape or if you do puncture the sweet potatoes, it's not the end of the world. I'm really disappointed in myself to do this live on the video, but I'm glad I could show you just need to eat them a lot sooner than you would with these others, which we're going to cure. Okay, so now I'm going to really take my time, try not to make this mistake again, and get in here and loosen up the soil. So let's get after it. First things first. Are you kidding me? That wasn't scripted. That just happened. Literally, the potatoes are like, no, this is my pitchfork now. We're going to take it. So I'm gonna just shake some of the dirt off, take a look at these beasts. So I am gonna put this off to the side, and these are my potatoes that I can't cure. So I know I'm gonna want to eat these in the next couple days before yucky stuff gets in there and starts to rot it from the inside. So I'm gonna put this to the side, grab a shovel, and keep going. Try number 2, I'm gonna use a shovel this time, scoot even further back, and I'm just gonna get as far down here, and just really all you're trying to do is loosen up the soil. Guys, if you planted a brand new bed with potting soil in there, now I'm nervous. Oh my gosh, I hope that's not one. If you have a brand new bed, you might not even need to shovel. You might literally just be able to reach in with your hands and grab them out. We're doing this because it's been compacted, it's been walked on, it's settled from all the rain that we got. So I have to loosen these up or I'm not going to be able to get them out. But that is looking pretty good. So let's go in here and see what we got.
Oh my god.
This is a human stomach. Actually, I think that's bigger than it. This is like a liver. But this is the kind of sweet potato that you can get if you give them enough time to grow. They popped up when they wanted to, and this is the kind of product that you get when you have good soil and good plants. So let's see what else we have. So there's another good one. It kind of looks like a butternut squash, actually. It's dressed up for Halloween. It's its costume. So as I mentioned, this is a volunteer. So the reason that it volunteered here is when we were doing this in previous seasons, there was potatoes in here that we accidentally missed and left in the ground. And what happens to potatoes, especially sweet potatoes, they're going to send slips out of the top of their body, and that slip went above ground and started growing. So here we are. I'm going to keep going. See, we've got these runners even all the way back here. I don't think I'm going to get a big one. I think these are just looking for water. I don't think they have tubers at the end of them. So it does seem like most of the growth, oh, there's a nice little slimy slug. Slugs are just snails without shells, right? I don't know if there's a difference. Tell us in the comments if there's a difference between a slug and a snail. My finger's gonna be sticky forever because these guys are really sticky. So I'm gonna put them back here because I don't have any cruciferous growing here. I'll just let him survive in the garden because I don't love to kill things unless they're eating all of my plants. I could take this one off, I could eat this guy, but for the most part, these are just stragglers. So we've got one big one, two big ones, three big ones. So at this point, I want to give you our other tip is this skin right now, as I mentioned before, is very, very soft. So if you do want to store the potatoes, really be gentle when you're rubbing the dirt off. The last thing you want to do is go in there and scratch the skin because like we said, that just invites bacteria and things into there. So if you're going to cure them, just wipe them off. Definitely don't rinse them off with water. You can keep the dirt on while you're curing. Oh, it's like Christmas morning. So now I'm just gonna get in here as deep as I can with my hands, see if I can find any more, but if this is the haul that we got from one plant, I'm gonna be happy. So let's talk curing. Two things. High humidity, we're talking 90% relative humidity, and high heat. So there's two ways to accomplish that environment. The first way is put these in a plastic bag, tie the bag, and put them in the sunniest part of your house. Bonus points if it's actually in direct sun, like think of where a dog would sit in your house when it's just soaking up the sun. Put your sweet potatoes there for 1 to 2 weeks, and then you're going to take them out of that environment and put them into a cool, dry place. These skins need high humidity, high heat to toughen up. If you do this well and there's no marks or scratches like this that I have done in the harvesting process, these are going to last for months. So high heat, high humidity. If you don't have a warm, let's say you're in an apartment and you just don't have a warm spot in your house, you can take a closet, put a basin of water in there and a space heater and get that up to 85 degrees, 90% humidity for 1 to 2 weeks, and you can do it in a closet if you don't want to go the plastic bag route. Now, we've got a bonus little clip for you guys. We've got a completely different variety of sweet potatoes in a different side of the garden. I want to go show you those. I brought some leaves from the other ones that we just harvested. Notice what that leaf looks like compared to what this leaf looks like. It's got more of like a finger, like an oak type shape to it. And the only reason I bring this up is there are 400 types of sweet potatoes. If you go to the store, maybe they'll carry 3 or 4 of them. What happens with agriculture is the market says, we love the way this tastes, and the other side of the market says, okay, that's all we'll grow. And so you really get limited when you go to the store of what kind of food that you can buy. That's one of the beauties of gardening. You guys all know that you have 400 different types of sweet potatoes to choose from. Maybe you've got a friend in Japan who has some rare purple variety. Just have them mail you some slips and you can grow things. Actually, if you're in California, don't do that because that's probably illegal. The point is, there is a lot of variety in sweet potatoes. Get crazy and get online and find different varieties that work well in your environment, in your zone, and grow them. So without further ado, I'm gonna harvest these, and then I've got one last tip at the end if you're not having very good luck with sweet potatoes. So I'm gonna go here and find where these plants are in the ground. You'll notice there is a plant in here. I think I may have, oh, there it is. This is not a sweet potato, but this is, see if you guys can guess. Let me just give that a little tug. That is a potato. So one of the beautiful things, as I've said all throughout this video, is you're going to get some happy accidents in the garden, and you're going to get volunteers where you didn't even mean to plant them. But as you saw by the massive harvest we got, sometimes that's even better than planting yourself. Just let nature do its thing. Hello? We're in the middle of shooting a video right now. You can drop them off. We're almost done. Okay. Bye. Before the keyboard warriors get after it, I know potatoes are cool season crops. If I would have left this plant grow, it would grow through the winter and I would harvest in the spring and have nice big beefy potatoes, but I don't want potatoes in this. I've got other plans for this box right here, so I went ahead and pulled them up. So here's the tip that I was going to give you guys. If you've grown sweet potatoes for a while, and when you harvest, you notice really skinny sweet potatoes, that means that your soil has too much nitrogen. And typically that is a case of over-fertilization. A lot of fertilizer just has a lot of nitrogen, and if you don't read the back of the instructions, you may be putting too much nitrogen in your soil, which is not a good thing. So one way to know exactly how well your soil is doing is to do a soil test. It's something that costs a little bit of money, but it will give you tons and tons of information about how healthy your soil is, and then you can amend accordingly to get the right amounts of N, P, and K, and all the other trace nutrients in your soil. This is kind of cool. This is, looks like a red potato, but this is a sweet potato. It's not one of the potatoes that I had there. There's the milky sap that is quintessential sweet potato, but these look cool. So these are actually an heirloom variety that we got from the Midwest, from John's in-laws. So shout out to Carlos for letting us borrow these. He gave us some slips, but these guys are looking really, really nice. And I did not pierce the skin, so I'm very excited about that. He's a nice little guy. There we go.
Oh.
So this is the best this plant has done. This is the second year we've tried it. So one thing you're going to just notice right away, this sweet potato is much smaller than the other sweet potato. If John will pan up right now, you'll know exactly why it's not as big, and that is the shade of this Pakistan mulberry. Not only do we have that, but then we also have this grape, which is on the south side. So these are getting probably a half to maybe even less the amount of sunlight hours that you have out there in the middle of the yard. So even though these are still edible, they're just a little on the smaller side because of the sun. There's a really nice one.
Eat it. Take a bite.
I thought it was a potato at first. There's a little guy. Oh, there's one stuck in the wood. I might spend a little more time after this video looking, but you guys get the idea. Harvest when the leaves are yellow. Don't harvest too late. When you do harvest, put the shovel or the fork back far enough that you don't pierce anything. Cure them high humidity, like over 90% humidity, 85 degrees for 1 to 2 weeks. Store them in a cool, dry place, and you'll be eating sweet potatoes all year long.